This year's cars are going to be hugely different. I think the most visible difference will be in the aerodynamic shape of the car. Not only are the aerodynamics different, but the whole way the regulations are constructed are completely different. In the past, we've just had to fill boxes or shadow certain planes, but in this set of regulations, we're given a sort of base surface that we've got to work to, and we have to stick within a certain tolerance of it. So that's a completely different way of working for us. The power unit for this year is very different as well. That's going to be fixed until 2025, and it also has to run what's called E10 fuel, so that's 10% bioethanol. So that makes quite big changes to the power unit. We have 18-inch rims and tyres that go with that, so that's going to be quite a big difference. And there's also an increase in mass. So I think the cars are going to look very different, they're going to perform quite differently, and I think that's going to be interesting to watch. With such a significant aerodynamic change, pretty much all the components underneath the skin of the car need to change. So all the way from front to back, everything is different. You know, all those new components design has been a huge challenge. The new car looks completely different to last year's, and that's just a consequence of the regulations. They're a very much different shape. The sort of complexity that we used to have around the barge board area is gone, and the differences between the cars are going to be more in the surface shapes. And as a result, I think all of this year's cars will look fairly similar. They'll have sort of similar shapes, and the differences will all be subtle changes in the aerodynamic shapes and the surfaces that we've got, particularly under the car. And probably the most visual bit of that will be the way the floor works. The sort of strakes at the leading edge and the sort of shape and camber in the floor is going to make a big difference. That'll completely affect the way the car works. The rear wings have got this sort of nice swoopy shape, and I guess you could say the same about the front wing. It's just something completely different to what we had last year. For me as an aerodynamicist or with an aerodynamics background, I quite like the old cars, and I've not quite got used to these new ones, but they're just different. The overall performance of the new cars is probably not going to be very different from the old. Obviously the intention of these regulations was to try and improve overtaking, and it'll be a little bit of time before we can see whether that's actually happened. So the cars are a bit heavier, the power unit on the E10 fuel is going to perform slightly differently, and the way the aerodynamics are going to work and the setup of the car that goes with it will be different as well. And until we get the best out of that, until we've developed that and through testing and through the first few races, we're not really going to know. But overall, I suspect the performance will be relatively similar to last year. In terms of how we've approached these new regulations, I guess it's like we would do for any new change. You know, you look at the rules and you see what opportunities you think are there. You test that first set of rules, your first iteration of what you want to do, and you look at the flow field around it in aerodynamics and you see whether it looks similar to what you've had before, what are the differences, where are the opportunities, and you gradually chip away at changing that. The big challenge over the winter has been the fact that we have less runs to use in the wind tunnel. So that's been challenging, trying to work out how much we should have spent on last year's car versus how much we should have spent on this year's car. And this has knock-on consequences all the way through the factory. You know, in terms of the design work, we start the design work early on things like gearboxes and chassis, and particularly because the gearbox is fixed for a period of time, we've had to get that right. But once we then begin to understand what the aerodynamics are going to look like and how that's going to knock on to the rest of the car, we then get into sort of the detailed design work, and that's been huge over the winter. And so this sort of approach we take is just the same approach we take every year. It's just more difficult because the rule change is much more significant than we've seen in the past. As an engineer, our job is to try and get the most from the car. We're competing against an opposition, and what we're really trying to do is just do a better job than they do. But when you get a new set of regulations, it's a new challenge. It's a challenge to start from scratch. In most years where we've got carryover regulations, you've got a pretty good idea what good looks like. You know what sort of gains you need to make from the previous year's car, and you can sort of work on a direction of just fine-tuning, finding all those incremental gains that are going to make you a little bit quicker. When you've got a brand new set of regulations, you don't know what the limit is. You don't know where you can get to. And that's exciting for engineers. It's an exciting challenge to sort of work out what the opportunity might be and to try and explore all of those opportunities and try and do that in a better way than the opposition does. We first started working on the regulations for the 22 car back in the start of 20. And we've done all the initial work in CFD, we've done some initial work in the wind tunnel as well. The big development items like gearboxes had started. But as COVID kicked in, it became clear that we were going to delay the regulations for a year. We also had the challenge that we wanted to drop the downforce for the 21 car, You know, it was felt that was a necessary direction. The cars were getting too quick. So we had to turn all of our focus back to the 21 car. And it wasn't until the beginning of 21 that we could actually get back on and work on the 22 car. And all through that, it was about trying to balance the development of the current car versus the future car, with the future car, of course, being the car we're about to run. One of the biggest difficulties of developing this car has been about how much resource we could put into it. Last year we were fighting for a championship, and we needed to make sure that we did a good job with that, and we also did a good job with this year's car. And that was a big challenge. You know, particularly now the regulations are such that we've got a cost cap. We've also got very limited runs in the wind tunnel. So we had to choose really carefully what resource we spend on the 21 car versus what resource we spend on the 22 car. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the car goes. In a normal year, you've got a pretty good idea what you need to find over the winter. With a brand new set of regulations, who knows what's going to turn up? Who knows what the competition will have brought? And hopefully we've brought enough that we'll be out in front. I think for us as engineers, it's about the engineering challenge and the sort of what can we bring and how can we compete with our opposition. But from a sort of, I guess, standing back as a fan and looking from the outside in, you know, what we want is great racing. You know, we want to entertain the fans, we want them to enjoy what they see, and hopefully this new set of regulations brings about some really good racing.
After a tough test here in the sand in the desert, it's time for another challenge, snow and ice. We are here at the GP Ice Race at Selamsi. And together with me here is the king of drifting, Ken Block.
Nothing compares to actually experiencing it. The handling, the power, the design, it truly defines intelligent performance. I'm so happy to be part of the Audi team and be able to help shape the future with them. If it's anything like this, it's going to be great.
For the undisputed UFC Flyweight Championship.
And that is it!
Rose Namajunas!
She's out, she's out.
It is all over! Namajunas with a 2-10 kick!
I mean, she's a special fighter. She's only 25 years of age. The real question is she ready?
That is over! Rose Namajunas! There is a new strawweight queen!
My ultimate purpose as a martial artist is protect myself at all times and help others around me. You know, life is a fight. At least that's my experience. On your beat, camera ready? Should we go ahead and roll?
Okay, sound speeding. This is an interview with Rose. Take one more.
Putting it all on the line, what it feels like? Wow. That was the most flat performance that I've ever had. I really just didn't care about being there.
Unfortunate end to her title reign here tonight.
For like a whole year, I just didn't really do anything and didn't know what I was doing. I'll see if I'm still interested in this.
What do you mean about that? Are you not considering to run for the title again?
Yeah, I just want to do something else in my life right now. I knew that I was good, but I just made that realization, like, this is not the sport to be half-assing it, like, just to show up on a day where you don't really feel like it. Like, you got to be all in. I'm sure I cried a lot. I'm sure Pat remembers more of it than myself. There was lots of beating myself up and, like, not feeling confident. But over time, I think just doing little things, like, helped build my confidence again. And so it was just, like, it was a rocky road. It's like when you create a big mess, you have to, like, kind of clean one little corner at a time. You can't just snap your fingers and everything be perfect, you know? Throughout the whole process, there was times where I would, like, sort of text back and forth with Dana. He wanted me to fight for the belt and fight Whaley, but I just wasn't ready to. And then eventually I got to the point where I was like, I just want to fight Andras first because I can't rightly go into a title fight without correcting the mistake.
So much was made, though, of your mental and physical preparation, but you seem like you were having a lot of fun in there tonight. Is that fair to say?
I just was in the right state of mind. That's everything.
I think everybody was sort of like looking for who's the strawweight queen because the belt had kind of tossed around ever since I beat Joanna, and everybody's like looking to Whaley to be the one, but nobody could really commit to that until she faced me. Whaley brings lots of toughness, speed, accuracy, and I think, you know, the normal, like, hardworking, things like that, determination, but I think she just brings a whole nother level to it that most girls don't have. It's like climbing a mountain. You can be prepared all you want, but it's gonna be tough. Ultimately, it's like what you're willing to go through, because if you're not willing to go through some suffering and things like that, you're probably gonna quit.
Rose rises to occasions. That's what she's in the sport for, to find out what is her spirit. Like, who is she? I think this is her greatest challenge, and I believe we are gonna see the best version of Rose Namajunas to date. Here we go!
There's really not much conversation that happens in the locker room before the fight. It's more just like kind of getting ready and hit pads. I don't know, from there, everything else is sort of a blur.
Your time, let's go.
I mean, like, I don't want to make it sound traumatic, but it kind of is traumatic, you know? But if you've ever been in a car accident and everything sort of, like, slows down, but everything's, like, also super fast. Yeah, it's, like, psychedelic almost. What was going on in my head was, I mean, there was times where I was like, I feel good, I feel this and that, and then it was like, oh, my arms feel like noodles, and then I'm like, no, they feel great, and then, you know, just kind of going back and forth between, like, confident, unconfident, confident, unconfident. She has the potential to knock me out or hurt me bad or submit me, and I was like, no, fuck that. Like, I'm the best. The feeling that I had was just being patient, not force anything.
One of the things that we talked about, John, was the importance of Rose's movement. She's got to be light on her feet. She's got to create a lot of angles.
I kind of go to one side and then I go to the other and I start to, like, open her guard. As I was moving around, I started to notice, like, her guard start to open, and I just saw, like, this part of her chin. It was almost like just the stars aligned, like, it was the stars aligned, and my body just filled in the spot, and left leg came up. And then I just saw her body collapse like a tree. I did it, but it was really like just part of God's plan. Whether or not that's something you believe in or whatever, you definitely felt something when you watched it. I mean, you knew you were witnessing something special. I mean, that was a Bruce Lee kick. Lil Wayne was talking about making a song about me, and then there was like everybody, the whole world was on fire. That was a pretty lit performance.
Doug Rose, you shook up the world again.
I did it again.
Rose, there's some special moments in MMA, and I feel like I just witnessed a real one.
I was riding the high for a few months. When I came back home, I didn't sleep for like 2 days. It was adrenaline rush for like a couple months.
Doug Rose, ladies and gentlemen, the champion of the world!
Yeah, couldn't write it any better.
Hi, my name is Christopher Coleman. I compete in the sport of four-man bobsled in the 1992 Olympic Winter Games in Albertville, France, and in 1994 in Lillehammer, Norway. Right now, I am a photographer in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and I enjoy doing landscapes. I'm proud of the artwork that I've produced in this project. The purpose of these photographs is to highlight the athlete who is training in Colorado Springs and enjoying the beautiful landscape in this area. As an artist, belief is having trust in yourself that you have done. I've taken the photos over and over again. I've done the homework. I've done all the hard work ahead of time until you ultimately get a result that you're happy with. And hopefully at the end of the day, something that the viewer, someone who is looking at my photograph, can understand and relate to. I can say that as an athlete, I was hyper-focused, I was dedicated, I was determined. As an artist, I would consider myself, very, very contemplative, very, very thoughtful, very determined. The Olympic values influence my work in a number of ways. The first thing that comes to mind is persistence. For this particular project, I had to be very, very persistent in going out to various venues, shooting that venue in morning light, in evening light, sometimes with a subject, sometimes without, going back and trying to figure out exactly what do I want to achieve. And it's just about being persistent and trying different things over and over and over again until I get the result that I'm happy with.
The Kalahari's got its own draw. It's vast and it's forever. You've just got to get into those sand dunes on your own, and there you're going to find a lot of solitude. It can seem like a place of massive emptiness, but you suddenly find 5, 6 different animal tracks right there. There's this huge amount of life, and when I'm on a filming project, I really like to try and live like the animals do so that I can experience the hardships that they're going through. I want to see wildlife in a totally different context. And that's really, I suppose, what draws me to the Kalahari. It's the vastness and the openness. I really enjoy being able to see these massive distances. Those are great images and things that stick with you.
February 21st, 1965.
To resort to any means necessary to bring about justice where the government can't give them justice.
Malcolm X, the former black Muslim leader, is shot to death during a speech in New York City. He was 39. 3 black Muslims are identified as his assassins and later convicted of the murder. 1972, President Richard Nixon begins the first visit by an American leader to communist China. His trip is a key step in warming relations between Washington and Beijing during the Cold War. 1988.
I have sinned against you, my Lord.
A tearful confession from televangelist Jimmy Swaggart, who says he's leaving the pulpit temporarily. Swaggart does not specify the sin, but his confession comes amid reports linking him to an admitted prostitute. And 1995.
It was a more difficult trip than I had anticipated, and I think perhaps more risky than I had anticipated.
Steve Fawcett becomes the first person to fly solo across the Pacific Ocean in a balloon, landing in Canada. Today in history, February 21st. Tim McGuire, The Associated Press.
Welcome back in our studio, and in today's news,